Welcome to Shadowline News. I'm your correspondent, bringing you a comprehensive analysis of one of the most significant military actions in recent decades. In an unprecedented escalation that has redrawn the strategic landscape of the Middle East, the United States launched a coordinated assault on Iran's nuclear infrastructure, marking the first direct American military engagement with the Islamic Republic since the 1979 revolution. President Donald Trump announced that American forces had successfully executed strikes against three critical Iranian nuclear facilities: the heavily fortified Fordow enrichment plant, the primary uranium enrichment site at Natanz, and the Isfahan nuclear complex. The operation, which Trump characterized as a spectacular military success, deployed B-2 stealth bombers carrying massive 30,000-pound bunker-busting bombs specifically designed to penetrate Iran's underground nuclear installations. The president declared that Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated, though independent verification of the damage remains ongoing. Satellite imagery, analyzed by intelligence sources, reveals significant destruction to the mountainside surrounding the underground Fordow complex, demonstrating the effectiveness of specialized ordnance designed for such deeply buried targets. This military action represents a dramatic culmination of escalating tensions that began when Israel launched surprise attacks on Iranian targets 8 days prior. The conflict had been intensifying daily, with both nations exchanging missile barrages that resulted in over 400 Iranian casualties and at least 24 Israeli deaths. Trump's decision to directly engage Iran came after a week of deliberation within his administration, ultimately choosing military intervention over continued diplomatic efforts that had shown minimal progress. The timing of these strikes, executed well before Trump's previously announced 2-week deadline, suggests either an acceleration of Iranian nuclear activities that demanded immediate response, or a calculated attempt to achieve maximum strategic surprise while Iranian defenses remained focused on the Israeli front. The strategic significance of the targeted facilities cannot be overstated. The Fordow plant, buried deep within a mountain south of Tehran, housed advanced centrifuges capable of enriching uranium to levels perilously close to weapons-grade material. Intelligence reports indicated that Iran had achieved uranium enrichment levels of 83.7% at Fordow, approaching the 90% threshold required for nuclear weapons production. This near-weapons-grade enrichment meant Iran's breakout time to produce sufficient weapons-grade uranium for a nuclear device had shrunk to merely days, creating an urgent imperative for action. The Natanz facility served as Iran's primary uranium enrichment center, while Isfahan functioned as a crucial research and development hub, employing approximately 3,000 nuclear scientists. Military analysts note that only the United States possessed the capability to effectively target these deeply buried and heavily fortified nuclear facilities, particularly the Fordow installation that previous administrations had considered but ultimately refrained from attacking. From a domestic political perspective, the strikes reveal significant insights into the Trump administration's approach to crisis management. The decision to brief Republican congressional leadership while providing no advance notification to Democratic counterparts represents a highly partisan approach to what traditionally has been treated as a bipartisan national security matter. This selective briefing pattern suggests the administration views the strikes not merely as tactical military operations, but as elements of a broader political strategy that encompasses domestic as well as international objectives. Iran's response has been swift and multifaceted, with Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi condemning the strikes as a grave violation of the UN Charter, international law, and the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Tehran has declared its right to pursue all options in defending its sovereignty and has launched retaliatory missile strikes against Israeli targets, with reports indicating at least 86 wounded in multiple missile barrages. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps has warned that American military bases throughout the region, housing up to 40,000 personnel, now represent legitimate targets for retaliation. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei had previously warned of irreparable consequences should the United States join Israel's campaign, and Iranian officials have threatened to withdraw from the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty entirely. This targeting of Israeli, rather than American assets in immediate retaliation, suggests Iranian leadership's recognition that direct confrontation with U.S. forces could prove catastrophic for the Islamic Republic. The international community's reaction has been sharply divided along predictable lines. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised Trump's courageous decision as one that will change the course of history, asserting that future generations will remember Trump's actions in preventing the world's most dangerous regime from acquiring nuclear weapons. Conversely, United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres expressed deep concern, describing the strikes as a dangerous escalation in an already volatile region that poses a direct threat to global peace and security. European leaders have called for immediate de-escalation and a return to diplomatic negotiations, though the evident failure of previous negotiations and Iran's continued nuclear advancement have created space for tacit acceptance of military action among some allies. The broader regional consequences are manifesting across multiple theaters as neighboring states reassess their strategic positions. Kuwait has established emergency shelters for government personnel, while other Gulf states are re-evaluating their security postures in light of Iran's threats against American bases in their territories. The strikes have effectively transformed what began as an Israel-Iran bilateral conflict into a direct US-Iran confrontation, fundamentally altering alliance calculations and strategic planning for every major power in the Middle East. Regional states now face the stark choice of aligning more closely with either the American-Israeli axis or the Iranian-led resistance coalition, with neutrality becoming increasingly untenable. The economic ramifications are already reverberating through global markets, with oil prices experiencing significant volatility as traders assess the potential for broader conflict disruption to energy supplies. Energy analysts project that Brent crude could surge beyond $100 per barrel if Iran retaliates by disrupting shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, a critical choke point through which roughly one-fifth of global oil supply transits. Economic modeling by Oxford Economics suggests that in a worst-case scenario, oil prices could reach $130 per barrel, potentially driving U.S. inflation close to 6% by year's end. Such developments would likely eliminate any possibility of interest rate cuts and could significantly impact consumer spending across energy-importing nations. The potential for further escalation remains a critical concern as Iran weighs its response options. Military experts identify several scenarios Iran might pursue: direct attacks on American forces in the region, proxy strikes through allied militias in Iraq and elsewhere, disruption of commercial shipping in the Persian Gulf, or acceleration of any remaining nuclear activities in hidden facilities. Iran's capacity for large-scale retaliation may be diminished following a week of Israeli strikes that destroyed approximately half of its missile launches, though the regime retains significant asymmetric warfare capabilities through allied forces, including Houthi militants in Yemen, who are likely to intensify their operations against American and Israeli interests throughout the region. Trump's warning that there will be either peace or tragedy for Iran underscores the binary nature of the current crisis. His administration has reportedly reached out to Iran through diplomatic channels to clarify that the strikes represented the extent of planned military action, while simultaneously threatening additional targets if Tehran fails to pursue peaceful resolution. This combination of military pressure and diplomatic signaling reflects an attempt to compel Iranian compliance while providing potential off-ramps for de-escalation. The long-term implications of this unprecedented American military action against Iran extend far beyond the immediate tactical objectives. The strikes represent a fundamental shift in U.S. Middle East policy, directly engaging a regional power that has been a persistent adversary for over 4 decades. Success in degrading Iran's nuclear capabilities could provide a template for addressing similar challenges with other proliferating states, while failure to achieve lasting deterrence could encourage further nuclear ambitions among regional actors. The success or failure of these strikes will likely be measured not by immediate tactical outcomes, but by their ability to achieve broader strategic objectives of forcing Iran into meaningful negotiations while deterring further regional aggression. As the situation continues to develop, the international community watches closely for signs of Iranian retaliation and American response. The next phase of this crisis will likely determine whether Trump's gamble achieves its stated objective of eliminating Iran's nuclear threat or instead precipitates a broader regional conflict with unpredictable consequences for global security and economic stability. What remains clear is that the Middle Eastern strategic landscape has been fundamentally altered, with implications that will resonate far beyond the immediate crisis. This has been Shadowline News, providing you with comprehensive coverage of this developing story that continues to reshape Middle Eastern geopolitics and global security calculations. We will continue monitoring this situation as events unfold and bring you the latest developments as they emerge.